Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics, Non-Classics. This is episode number 1759 and Doubleshot number 1653. I have one DC trade, one Marvel trade. First one, I should point out though, is a very controversial run. A run that the reception I've heard from this book, these issues mostly from some people, was that this run was pretty negatively received. Yes, seriously. And the thing is, there are quotes on this thing that are taken completely out of context. I'm like, really, DC? Wow, are you so freaking stupid when it comes to this book? Because we have Batwoman Volume 5 Webs, collecting the very first annual for Batwoman, which was released partway through the issues released for this trade. Yes, seriously, I think it was like 5 or 6 issues in this run. Like, oh, we have this annual that's supposed to conclude the previous writer's run. I'll get to that. Book also collects Batwoman 2534. This is 25. It's a good issue. It's one of the zero stuff. I've discussed the rest. I'm going to discuss that one. But the annual, okay. Here's the thing. The book itself puts the annual first. Despite the fact that, here's the thing, they released this annual in the middle of a story arc. Yeah, they released, I think it was like, I think it's like 20, 29. Yeah, the volume ran going for a little period of time. Like, I guess someone at DC must have felt as though, hey, let's make this conclusion because the run was abruptly, like, the creative team was fired for this book. So let's have Mark Andrego, a guy who was not writing the book at this point, write the conclusion of someone else's story. Though I gotta admit, the artwork of this book is actually really good. Yes. One of the people I subscribed to, I haven't watched them in like a couple of years, Josh Hayes, referred to Mark Andrego when it comes to this book as DC's Yes Man. Yes, seriously. Like, this run from DC is considered by many to be one of the worst and most despised runs in years. People hate this run. For good reason. Okay, let's first talk about the annual, which actually is surprisingly good. I like the annual. Because here's the thing. Like, here's the annual for you. And by the way, the title of this one is called The Blood is Thick Conclusion. Yes, you have the conclusion to a story arc that was done by the previous team. Now, my guess is the reason why they put this annual here first, despite the fact this annual came out like a little bit into this run, they put it here first because of chronological purposes. And here's a little fun fact for you. This is the first of 2 annuals this run had. Yes, 2. Next annual published in the very next trade, which I will discuss that. The artist for these issues is done by Jeremy Hahn, John McCarthy, Andrew Mouton, Pat Offey, and Jim Farron. The cover art here for the trade is done by Rafi Albuquerque. Yes, the artwork for these issues are really good. The annual itself, simply put, is the conclusion that was supposed to be done by W.H. Blackman and J.H. Williams III. This was supposed to be their story, it's supposed to be their concluding. Nope. We had to have Mark Andrego do this story for some reason. Which, yeah, despite the fact Mark Andrego probably did this story, here's my personal theory. I think this story was actually written by Hayden Blackman and J.H. Williams III. I think they wrote it and took their name off this story because Mark Andrego was the writer of this run. Because, excuse me about that. Because here's the thing. The way this annual was written, it's like, this is not what is published in the main book at all. It feels like this is written by, like, you read this, and despite the fact Mark Andrego is credited for writing the story, I don't think anybody bought the fact that he wrote this annual. I think this was written by J.H. Williams III and W.H. Blackman. I think they wrote the story but they were fired before it was submitted. Like, it was probably approved, but I guess the end of the book probably felt sorry for them. Like, okay, we got to publish this annual. We have it ready here. And, like, unknown if this is supposed to be the final issue supposed to do for the run, because they were abruptly fired after issue 20, because I heard they were fired. That's what I've heard from a few people who basically discuss this, that they were fired from the book, because here's the thing. There were two things they wanted to do with this book. Number one, they wanted to have Batwoman marry Maggie Sawyer, which I'll get to that in. Like, they weren't allowed to do that. And they also wanted to tell a new backstory for Killer Croc in this book. Yes, seriously, they actually wanted to do that. Nope. They had been taken up by Tim Seeley. He had taken that job of writing that new story. As a matter of fact, they were the ones who originally pitched it. Yes, seriously, that's why I've heard about it. As for why Mark Andringa was chosen to replace them, no idea. I've never talked to Mark Andringa about that. I've never met him anyways. So, it's like they actually tapped up with D.E.O. Bones gets arrested. We have Cameron Chase named new head of the D.E.O. Though this is kind of undone in the Steve Orlando run, where toward the end of that book, Chase is removed as director, and she gets moved over to the FBI, as mentioned in the Action Omnibus trade, the last one Ben this is run, and the D.E.O. is back under the tincture of Bones, which I like that. Okay, I get the reason why that J.H. Williams brought in Bones and D.E.O. He created them, so it makes perfect sense for him to include him in the Batwoman book. That was not an issue with me. My issue was basically them being fired from the book. And then after they leave, we drop D.E.O. stuff, and then after the Zero, so we come to the storyline that my friend Josh Hayes basically, I've chatted with him a couple times. I never actually spoke to him personally, but I kind of consider him a friend because he's a fellow Batman fan. But here's the thing. He considered these from issues 26 to 94 as a series of issues where, like, almost literally nothing happens for 9 issues. And it kind of feels that way. Like, what happens? We have this thing with a wolf spider, kill shot. I'm like, what is this? And we have this vampire, Natalia, who bites Kate at the end of the story. And we also have something that I think a lot of people, when they read this, they're like, no, we're done with this book because you basically ruined something that was really good. Basically, Mark Andringa wrote in the story where Kate wrote a letter to, of all people, her own girlfriend. By the way, she finally gets a chance to meet Jamie, Maggie's daughter, in the storyline, where she first wants to hurt woman, and apparently she gets involved with some child custody stuff, and because of this, the engagement is called off. And Maggie Sawyer is never seen the book after this. Where does she do? I think she went out to Batman Eternal, where she later became the commissioner of the GCPD for a couple years until, like, she stepped down, and then, of course, it was taken over by Harvey Bullock. I think it was Jim Gordon briefly. Then Harvey Bullock took over again. And currently, it's Renee Montoya. By the way, Batwoman is currently dating her right now. As Natalia itself, it's like, oh, let's have her bite Kate for some reason at the end of this trade. And the whole thing with her is weird at best. Why the heck is Kate dealing with a freaking vampire? It's just so weird. It makes no freaking sense. Like, wow. Yeah, this storyline was so confusing. By the way, Wolf Spider is somehow defeated and he disappears. We have Killshot here. This was by far, like, the annual and the zero year tie-in issue. Those books are good. But issues 26, 34, man, these issues were bad. Only case of writing, like, wow, there's some good characters up for Kate. But my gosh, wow, what terrible villains. Wolf Spider? By the way, the book is called Webs. And this book contains 10 issues of Batwoman. 10! Plus a freaking annual. Yeah, the artwork, 10 out of 10. Really good. The story arc, well, the annual, give that 9.5. On the zero issue. But issues 26, 34 for the writing. I give the rating for those 9 issues a, drumroll please, a 3 out of 10. Because the story sucked. That's why. Yeah. Alright, let's move to the more positive. Oh my gosh, seriously. What the heck is that there? Okay, we have Ka-Zar, Lord of the Savage Land, collecting the 5-issue miniseries for Ka-Zar. Written by Zach Thompson. Yes, Zach Thompson, one of like 2 or 3 Thompsons who work for Marvel Comics. Yeah, the guy's only writing miniseries. When I saw this at my local comics, I kind of forgot the series existed. Yes, and you're probably thinking, was this the very first mini-series for Ka-Zar? The answer is no. This wasn't. It was actually published just a few years prior to this, which had Ka-Zar get amnesia for some reason. And that came just after the Za-Zar Lord of the Savage Land miniseries. Yep. Now, his first ongoing was actually published in the, I believe it was the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was the second volume, lasted for about 20 issues. They had, also the 80s, we had the Cage of the Savage. That was 34 issues. I think the first one was back in the 70s. And then you had one published in the 90s, which this one was like all 20 issues as well. Where, excuse me, one of the issues was a backdoor pilot to Christopher's run on Black Panther. And mostly, Ka-Zar over the years has mostly been just a guest star in X-Men books. Now, here's the thing. By the way, this back cover here, that's a clear homage to Kraven's Last Hunt. Love the fact that the artist of this book basically did that. By the way, the artist of these issues, for pretty much the first 5 issues, it's mostly done by German Garcia. Javier Lopez takes over issue. He does issues 4 and 5. He co-does it with him. And the final issue, well, 4th issue is done by Javier Lopez, who basically does issue 5 as well. And you also have Latia Kamasura. Now, pretty much this is basically Ka-Zar's return to Savage Land after he was killed during the Empire crossover. This is basically him getting revived in the Savage Land. And he basically kind of wipes away his whole Plundar heritage for this one, which is kind of weird. Also, his son Matthew has aged. Yes, his son is no longer like a little kid. He's basically like a teenager now. Yeah. The whole thing with Ka-Zar is that he's Marvel's Tarzan ripoff. That's simply put the whole purpose of Ka-Zar. I mean, he's a guy who comes from a rich family, who was stranded in the Savage Land, who's been there for years, and keeps going back from the Savage Land, his home in the UK. And you're probably thinking, that sounds a lot like Tarzan. And by the way, his wife Shauna is like Jane. Yeah, wears a Jungle Girl outfit. Yeah, like Jane. And they have a kid together. Yes. Now, the whole kid thing, I think that was something in the last like 20, 30 years they established, because Ka-Zar's original love interest was not Shauna the She-Devil. Oh, no. Originally, it was, get this, it was Mockingbird was his original love interest. Yes, and they even had an issue where they made out. And then, I guess, somewhere in Marvel must have forgot that and had him hook up with Shauna the She-Devil. So, Mockingbird go hook up with Hawkeye briefly. Yeah. But I gotta say, they mentioned all the thing with the content. This series only came out just last year. I kind of forgot the series came out. But I like Ka-Zar, I really do. I think it's just a really good book. I think Zach Thompson himself does an absolute great job with it. Plus, love the artwork here. It's really good. And look, the clear, obvious Tarzan references in here. Yes. It's like this book is like Tarzan mixed with aliens. Yeah, and also, Ka-Zar has got a beard now. Yep, he's got a beard. Because here's the thing. Over the years, he's always been clean shaven. Okay, I'm going to give this book roughly a 9.5 because it's actually a pretty good book. And it ends with him basically establishing home in the Savage Land because basically they're going to explore more of it. Here's a fun fact for you about Ka-Zar. When he first showed up back, I think it was in X-Men number 8, I think it was, back in the 60s. where at the time he spoke broken English. Yes, that's how Stan Lee wrote him. And then when he popped up in Daredevil of all things, yes, Daredevil, that's when they found out about his backstory. Yes, so it took a character first introduced pages of X-Men and having Daredevil explore the guy's backstory. Also, this is something I don't think Tarzan had this in stories, stuff I've seen. Like, he never had a pet tiger he kept around with him. This one he called Zabu. And Zabu is always with Ka-Zar. Ka-Zar at one point, for the last few years, was part of the Age of Wakanda. And his wife criticized him for basically spending too much time away from the Savage Land while she was there. Yes, that's literally how the writers wrote at that point. By the way, if you ever get a chance to read Black Panther and Age of Wakanda, it's a damn good book. Shame the book got canceled because of the pandemic a couple years ago. Yep. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for particular review. Next one's going to be Kaguya-sama Love is War. Okay, next video. Bye.